Nothing on extraterritoriality, nothing on the fact that the biggest danger probably is the use of offshore calling services, whereas that was in my bill, and then pretending that this bill adds penal time, adds prison time when it doesn't. We already have the 6-year prison time that comes with these so-called new offenses of impersonation and obstruction. They're already in the Canada Elections Act with respect to any effort to dissuade people from voting. That's already an offense. So where the action needed to be was at least in hiking fines to a huge level to create disincentives. I recommended $500,000 in my bill as the top fine. The Chief Electoral Officer thought I was maybe a bit over the top, had $250,000. Conservatives come in with $50,000. At every stage, they're not serious. And the one most important thing they could have done in order to make sure that not only at the prevention end, but the investigation end, that robo-fraudsters are caught, is to give the power to the Commissioner of Elections Canada to compel testimony. We know all the obstruction that's gone on with witnesses. That is not in the bill. Nor is the NDP's call and the Chief Electoral Officer's request for the right to request and receive any documents that would help him understand whether or not there's been compliance with the Election Act. Right now, the ability to get documents from parties for that purpose is extremely limited. That's also not in the bill. And by the way, one last thing that just shows how this goes on and on. I said 25 or so negative actions. I also see my colleagues Wayne Marston, Hélène Verdière have joined me. We'll see a few others. The Chief Electoral Officer said, okay, one of the things that we need to do is we need to clean up our act as much as possible in reducing irregularities on election day, which is the thing that Poilievre is leveraging for his false claim that this is all about fraud. Fraud by citizens as opposed to fraud by parties like the Conservative Party. He said, give me the power to hire all election day workers and recruit volunteers well in advance and then train them properly as the first step in what's going to be a rolling set of reforms to make sure E-Day runs better. And you know what? And what happens right now is parties have the first right to recommend election day workers. And they can do that up until 17 days before the vote. What the Conservatives did is they said, oh, we'll make that 24 days before. And that's it. So the Elections Canada has to wait until 24 days before the election before it can then fill in the gap for all the recommendations of workers that never were received. And apparently that's 60 to 70%. And then they have to figure out how to organize all those people, almost 200,000 people, and train them for a one-day event where they do have to deal with some fairly complicated procedures. They didn't grant that request. Instead, they got rid of vouching and voter identification cards, put the two together, and asked whether or not that's actually direct evidence of voter repression. I do believe it is. So I'll end right there. I could go on and on. I've made a speech that is even longer than this in the House, and my colleagues are making really, really fine speeches in the House on individual aspects of this bill. But what I would like to do again is thank you all for your commitment. Please spread the word. The fact that 30,000 signatures emerging over the weekend, I knew it was already in the low thousands by the weekend, is absolutely amazing. And between my colleagues who are here with me and all the other of the 100 NDP MPs in the House, the government will know your concern. And please don't let up, because this is going to be a battle. Thank you so much.